name is Linda Vermillion, and I'm here today to show you a few things from the Tim Holtz Eclectic Elements and how to do a quick and easy quilt as you go. I used the fabric from Tim Holtz to make just kind of a little mini quilt, kind of demonstrate what we're going to be doing today. This here is by Tim Holtz Eclectic Elements fabric, and we have a kit here. This is a Scrap Crazy quilt right here, made with these great templates. It makes an 8-inch square, which I used in this as well. We also have a braid quilt by him, by his fabric. And we carry it here at Stitchin Heaven. Okay, I want to show you kind of a neat way. There's lots of different ways to do quilt as you go nowadays. I used the Tim Holtz fabric, cutting the squares 8 inches. These different ones. Now, if you like the Scrap Crazy, it comes out square. You want to use a square block. You can use a charm pack. There'll be lots of little squares with this, but you want to start out with a square. I used an 8-inch square to begin with. I want to cut batting the same size as my square. Now, for the backing, we want to cut it 2 inches larger. Now, what I did with this to kind of give myself a good area to go by, I did a little bit of marking. I marked out the little 8-inch. You don't have to, you can kind of eyeball it. And what you'll want to do is put, this is what's considered your backing. It will also be your sashing. So you want to choose a fabric that matches the front of your quilt. So you've cut your 8-inch or whatever size you want, square, matching batting, and 2-inch larger backing. Where I marked it and I set it in here. Now you have a choice of how you want to kind of baste. I prefer to use like a glue stick. You can use a Roxanne's glue and baste it, which is wonderful if you do any applique. There are the Soline little glue sticks, or you can use a basting spray. You can pin it however you want to. One of the things that you want to do is you want to think about whether you want to quilt this or not. You can make them a size that you don't even have to do any little quilting in it. You could do a small square in here and just mark it and quilt around it. What I chose to do, because it was easy to mark, because of an 8-inch square, I kind of thought, well, it needs to have a little bit of quilting in it. If you use a charm pack, I would say anything over 6 inches, you probably want to put some kind of stabilizing quilting into it. So what I did with my squares, so that I could mark them, I just ironed them from corner to corner and made an X. So it's lined, and I did that before I sandwiched it. Then I want to do the basting on however, and here is a block where it shows the quilting that I did. You want to make sure that this stays stable, because if this gets out of whack, then your quilt's going to be kind of out of whack. So you want to start, if you do like an X, you want to start in the center and go out. If you start here and you're not basted well, you're going to have a shifting. So you always start in the middle and go out. If you want to just do a crosswise, whatever you want to do in the middle, if you want to do any quilting to it. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to put your blocks together. And you're going to sew them with your backing right sides together. And you're going to sew it at 1 inch. You want to try to avoid your block because, sometimes it'll get in the way. If you get it a little bit, it's not going to hurt much. But you're going to sew your rows together. I prefer to do rows. You can do, just depends on how much you want to shift your machine around and, what you want to put under your machine and how big your row is going to be. You can also do it in sections. So you sew all of your rows together, your blocks together in this way. Now, this is kind of, for demonstration to show you. When you want to back stitch, one thing I need to tell you, if you do quilt in an X like this, you want to make sure that you quilt to the corner and do a little back stitch, just so that it doesn't come loose, because that is, depending on your thread, if you're going to use a matching thread, it's going to show through on the back. And when you go to put it all together, you'll be able to see, and it'll all come together at one point here, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But you press this open, and then you're going to take the edge of your fabric, and you're going to tuck that under, and you're going to press that again. Here I like to do a little bit of glue stick or basting of some sort, or if you prefer not, you feel confident with that, lots of spray starch, it will stay. And you want to quilt right along this little edge. I use about 1/8 of an inch. You don't want to get too far into this because you could miss your block. Now, I do not recommend this technique for a pieced block if you have points and different things like that, because they will get covered up by this bit of sashing. So you want something, that's kind of random like that it's okay to have a sashing because you don't have any points. That's what's great about that quilt and here on a block. So once you do all of this, you're going to sew all the way to the edge and definitely do back stitching on this, especially when you're joining your quilts, your blocks. Once you get all of those together, you're going to sew your rows. So let's say we've got a row here. You can see where I have quilted and sewn it here and tacked it all down. Then you're going to join your rows in the same way. And what you want to do is you want to match your seams. You'll match your seams, and you'll do the same dimensions here. Check your quilting and your seams to make them match. You attach all of your rows together, and on the back, I used a lighter thread. You're gonna see that your quilting is gonna come together in the X on this type of quilting, and it's all gonna come together. You can also, depending on you can use it to bind it at the end. This would be considered the binding. Now, as a quilter, sometimes we would like a little bit stronger binding than just one layer. So you can do your favorite way of doing a binding if you want to, but it'll work for the binding on this as well. It's easy to wash and take care of. And I thank you so much for being with us. I'm Linda with Stitch in Heaven. You have a good day.